This is the part where this is the part where it's real awkward. Hello, Jason.
Hello, Boomer Brown. Come on, what couch you got here?
It's the S3 sofa.
CS3 sofa.
S3 sofa.
Cool.
We're back again. A little Apex shop talk today. I'm sitting here with the other co-founder, Jason Lonsberry. He's also our CEO. And today's topic, we're going to talk about tungsten, TSS, tungsten super shot. So you want to kind of explain what that is? Some of our customers, just a real quick. I know everyone watching this probably knows, but let's start there and then we'll kind of roll into where we're at.
Sure. Generally speaking, our tungsten super shot is it's a high density metal composed of tungsten, nickel iron. It has an extremely high melting point, but the best part about it ballistically is its dense properties. The process to make it is very meticulous, requires a lot of very expensive equipment to do it. So, but we started our roots here at Apex with TSS back in 2017. So through that process, we've kind of had some good exposure on, the goods and the bads, and really how to make it optimal for any hunter out in the field.
Okay, well, one of the main things that I do here, and I've explained on our last episode, is I take questions that I get in the field. I'm in sales, I'm in customer service, and I'm the conduit to ask you guys this to where we can send it out to the masses and kind of answer it.
Yep.
Is what is the state of TSS today? You hear a lot of rumors. I know a lot of things. I'm going to kind of play a little ignorant to it, but I know my customers ask questions, my dealers ask questions. What is the state of TSS today? Or the price is going up? Are we going to have it? There's a lot to this question, so I'll just let you kind of get with it.
I think first to answer that question, it's kind of, let's start at the origin of where it comes from. Over 80% of the world's tungsten supply comes from China. And as everyone's been following the news in the past few months, there's a lot of tariff wars going on. There's a lot of goods, a lot of bads, a lot of movement forward, a lot of, brake pumping, all the above amongst all the governments that be. It's caused a lot of disruption with supply chain everywhere, not just with what we do. And I think most people kind of have felt that at home to some degree. But when it comes specific to tungsten, because the majority of that traditionally has come from China, you also had a stoppage of cycling of tungsten in the United States, and which causes a worldwide supply chain disruption, right? You could place it all on tariffs, but that would be a little unfair to everyone that's in the tungsten world, including ourselves and any other manufacturer that might be using it. They're probably finding out very quickly it's hard to come by. And like I think when you and I talked about a week or so ago, you got some reports on people saying it's now banned from hunting, which was completely false. TSS itself is not banned. At one point over the summer during the tariff wars, it was banned from being exported from China. China's government stopped it from moving, which caused a total stoppage of cycling material, recycled material in the States that gets utilized as a raw form to then get turned back into tungsten. So through that, it's caused an entire network of disruptions. And now you have a supply and demand issue, right?
Well, to add into that, why would you not, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate here, why would you not just buy the same TSS here in the States somewhere?
So because our ecosystem of tungsten, we don't mine tungsten here. It's been banned for many years at this point, although there are some new rare earth mineral mines starting to open recently under Trump's administration, but it's still too late. Like it takes time to get those mines back up, to pull raw material and all that type of stuff. So in the meantime, though, you've got material that is cycling. So what's happened over here is we've got a supply and demand situation that has been instigated through the tariffs. So we have a whole lot of demand, very little supply. So what tends to happen with that? Prices go through the roof, right? So you've got limited supply, you've got high demand, and you also don't have enough of it readily available. So even if you can adjust price points and the customers will adapt to that, you now have to still get it. What a lot of the tariffs have caused and the supply demand shortages here in the States have caused is the need to branch out to other countries that have it. There are other mines in the world. There are other sources of raw tungsten powder that get used in manufacturing. Manufacturers around the world are starting to shift and adapt a little bit. There are U.S. manufacturers of TSS, but again, it's very hard for them to produce something they can't get the raw material of.
The powder.
So, right, you're gonna bake a cake, you're gonna have some flour and eggs. Well, if you don't have flour and eggs, you don't have a cake. Same situation. The raw material and powder is very hard to source at the moment. Things are changing a little bit. As you know, with our history of our company, one of the niches behind our skill set is sourcing tungsten and understanding a lot of the flow inside the tungsten world. We've had very good relationships, very strong partners around the world that have been very helpful to us understanding our end customer who is waiting for the next season of this to come around. So everyone in the world is trying to mitigate the situation by shaving margin, changing some volumes of production, making sure it's as balanced as it can be. So all of our suppliers that we have worked with are very conscientious of the situation. They're very open about where they're at, what they can and can't do. And so that's been good for us. Our outlook is very positive. There are no guarantees, in our world when you're dealing with a commodity like this that's traded worldwide. I mean, you got to think about tungsten as a rare earth metal, just like gold.
Which, if you watch the news, that's the one thing China has been using basically as leverage in the negotiations with our administration with Trump is rare earth metals.
Yep. And as regulations begin to change, you're going to have a little bump and rub between these countries, right? So we say, hey, we're going to put a tariff on Chinese tungsten on the import. Well, they're going to say, well, now you can't have it because you're also using this in government contracts that we don't agree with. We don't want our tungsten in your products. Not that we do that, but that can cause an entire supply chain disruption for a commercial company like us. And I mean, any commercial company really. And as you know, a lot of our tungsten shot, TSS counterparts that are in our space, we're all talking. Everyone's trying to work on this situation together. I just think that because of our niche, and this is where we got our entire start, this was our focus. We try not to veer far off this focus, is why we have a very good upper hand at the moment on understanding what is coming. And as of right now, it's optimistic. We feel pretty good about it. As you know, we talk daily about what everything is happening, making sure our customers are taken care of, and that that supply chain remains as secure as possible under the situation.
Yeah, and it can be a bumpy situation when you're talking about end users buying, when you're talking about dealers getting it in time for the end users. Mm-hmm. So you kind of answered the final question, I guess you could say. So I'm going to skip to that one to the very end. We'll revisit. But have we ever had TSS from America, or has it always been something that Apex and other companies have always just used strictly foreign?
Yeah, it's a very young industry in America, right? When it comes to our shot, now there are, as far as the current American tungsten manufacturers that do tungsten products through stuff for parts like NASA or ballistic products to the DoD or wherever it might be. As far as supplying a commercial product like ours, there are different classifications of tungsten that get made. Ours is a little different spec than the Department of Defense requires, or Department of War requires.
Yeah, there you go.
Got to catch yourself on that. But, that spec is a little different for us. So working with those U.S. manufacturers has been a big eye-opening experience for Jared and myself to really understand what goes in behind tungsten manufacturing. And I think if people really knew the amount of equipment and the science that goes in behind it, I'm not saying there would be more respect for it, but it's more understanding of why it's a very, very expensive product, number one. And two, the production it takes to get it to where it's at, as just for that little tiny pellet, it takes days for that to come to a little tiny pellet. Our U.S. manufacturers, they're kind of new to our part of the industry, right?
The commercial,
the commercial end, the classification of tungsten that we use. We use a very hard type of tungsten classification. So with that case and them understanding our market, they really want to service the American people. But being first to the game, there's always stuff to learn on both sides. And when we first got started in this game, as you know, and as a lot of our early adopters of Apex know, the only source of real TSS you could get that was attainable was from China. And to this day, because of the supply, that still is. Now, there's been a lot of ITC regulations, International Trade Commission, that's changed a few things about what kind of tungsten you can bring in. or from their side, from China's side, what kind of tungsten they can ship out. So that's still mitigated. There are still limitations to that. And then on our side of things, there is a matter of the demand is high. We love all of our suppliers. It's always nice to work with somebody close to home.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk to them, pick up the phone, go fly and see them quickly same day. And if there's a situation, we can get there quick and have some really good conversations. But with that being said, being new to the game, there are limitations. There are production and volume limitations that we have to try to work around. And they're all doing their best to improve that type of production. But again, when you're talking very, very high levels of intricacy inside their equipment, their labs, their testing labs, where the origin of their material comes from, there's a lot for them to. It's not like you just turn on a dime. It's turning a giant yacht.
Yep.
And these guys come from a industry where they're making stuff for X-ray machines, MRI machines, NASA space shuttles, all the above. Cell phones. I mean, conductors. Tungsten is very highly conductive. So electronics, it requires a highly conductive, but also a very durable piece of metal, and tungsten can achieve that. So tungsten industry is not new by any stretch. Just how we use it, shooting birds with it, and shooting out the woods when we pattern our guns. And you and I both know that with all the testing that Jared's done, our ballistics team has done, we have a bunch of tungsten sitting out in the woods behind our old shop.
Yes, we do.
And if we go back and pick that up, you might find you a fortune back there, but we'll let it sit.
Well, I guess to bring this kind of home, one more thing. We're talking about tungsten. We're talking about, the ability to attain it. Any other part of our industry right now, is any of that going to be affected by, I guess, tariffs or anything else from China, anything of that nature, whether it be holes, wads, powders, anything like that? Is everything looking, I guess, more positive going towards the future, or?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely more optimistic. So and just in the past few weeks, our supply chain is going to become a little more fluid again. Summertime was definitely rough. There wasn't a whole lot of forecasting in the summer. It was, hey, we got a plan, and tomorrow it's going to change.
We got some gray hairs this summer.
We definitely aged. I mean, around here, I think every one of us has aged a little bit. I got a little more gray. Jared lost a little more hair. I mean,
probably gained a little more weight.
You got a little more mature.
Yeah. All right. So the last question then. What does the future look like? Will we have it? Will our customers be able to shoot TSS at waterfowl this year, and will they be able to count on us for turkey season?
That's the golden question. Right now, the answer is yes. We already have it in cycle. We are still shipping on daily, as you know, and we are as our supply is with our reserves that we have is moving down. We're able to slowly replenish here and there, which is nice. And as we know, we're about to ramp up into turkey season. So as of right now, with all the planning our entire team has done, it's looking on the up and up at the moment. And hopefully, the world stabilizes itself, which means that not only our supply chain, but everyone's supply chain will definitely improve. It'll help our economy, our markets, allow everyone to breathe a little easier when the turkey was next spring.
Mm-hmm.
I think for waterfowl season, everyone's going to run out to the woods and run to the flooded timbers just to kind of get away from a lot of this. So this will still be your vehicle to do that. But right now we're looking on the up and up.
Okay. Well, that kind of wraps us up here. Y'all heard it from the horse's mouth here. Jason Lonsberry. So thank y'all. Stay tuned for another episode of Apex Shop Talk.